Thanks for joining us. Game 3 of the Optus Cup finals. It is the Knights and the Eels to do battle. And the Newcastle Knights have brought with them a grand army of supporters. They have made their way south down the freeway. They are here to see Newcastle's first semi-final appearance since '95. And the winner today looking for a clash with Manly next Sunday.
Now led out by their skipper, Dean Pay. Please welcome the Parramatta Eels.
Newcastle Knights, that young backline on show, and talking about returns to finals football. Parramatta, they haven't competed in the finals since 1986. This is their first finals appearance at the Sydney Football Stadium. Dean Pay takes them out, and they come into this final series on the back of what was a rather disappointing performance last Friday week against St George. A 12-all scoreline. Let's have a look at the two starting lineups for this third game of the finals.
The Newcastle side in very good form, having won their last 4. Robbie O'Davis, the fullback, Albert and McDougall, the wings. Gidley comes into the team. That pushes Grogan onto the bench. Craigie, the other centre. Matthew and Andrew Johns make up the halves. Mark Glanville is the lock forward. Muir and Peden the second rowers. Harrigan is the captain in the front row with Butterfield. Clements the hooker, coached by Malcolm Reilly. The Parramatta team, Paul Carriage is the fullback. Ian Heron and Navali the wingers. Jared McCracken has been named in the centre, but the late mail is that he will be in the second row. Nathan Barnes, the other centre. Jason Bell, the 5'8", with John Simon, the halfback. Lock forward is Jim Dimmick. Now, Carl Lovell is the man that we expect to play in the centres. Jason Smith in the second row. Justin Morgan, Dean Pay the captain. Aaron Raper the hooker, coached by Brian Smith.
Paul McBlain in charge of this one. So just repeating, Newcastle or Parramatta, the winner today to play Manly. The kickoff is out on the full. It has gone over the dead ball line. Well, the Newcastle Knights, definitely not what was expected. And Parramatta, some smart work at the back. There was only centimetres in it. But it's a walk back to halfway, and Simon will put them on the attack deep inside Newcastle territory. Winner to play Manly next Sunday. The loser to face North Sydney next Saturday. And the Eels on the attack. That is the Newcastle Knights 30-metre line you can see. Raper comes to the left with Simon and then Pay. And twisted back in the tackle. The Newcastle forwards last Saturday against Balmain, outstanding. Demick has taken high there. The left arm, I think it was Adam Muir, who has caught Jim Demick high.
Yes, the number 12 coming up, Adam Muir. In his last season with Newcastle, just hangs the arm out. Another couple of players came in late, but it was Muir who will be spoken to by the referee. Paul McBlain just coming up off the ball. They're only a caution, not too much in it, but will be a chance for Ian Heron to put the first points on the board in this semi-final.
Adam Muir off to the North Sydney Bears for 1998. The man who's about to take the attempted goal, Ian Heron, returning today from a rib injury in that match against St George last Friday week. 3 tries, no goals. Cost them a victory. There've been calls for Chris Lawler to come into this Parramatta side. That has fallen on deaf ears, and it appears Ian Heron will have that number 1 goal-kicking spot for the season. His first kick of the day from 16 metres in from touch, the western touch line, and 27 metres out. As his kick is being lined up, some work in there for Matthew Johns. He takes plenty of time with the kick. We've had 2 minutes go by on the clock. We've only seen 30 seconds of action. Heron's kick is successful. That is what Brian Smith was hoping for. And Parramatta off to the start. They lead by 2 points to 0.
Oh, he's a genius, Chuck. What a player. He's a very good goal kicker. They've had the goal kicking woes all season when Ian Heron hasn't been there. And you couldn't get a worse possible start for the Knights.
Just holding back with a restart of play. Take 2 as Carriage comes back. Just short of the 20. Glanville was the man over the top. Underneath was Bill Peden. Went very close to winning the Man of the Match award against the Tigers as McCracken makes ground to the 30-metre line. Also returning from injury for this one for Parramatta. Now Demick taken over the top by the Chief. Paul Harrigan is there. Butterfield added his weight to the tackle. Now across with Pay. That is some heavy defence from the Knights. Muir that time found his target right across the chest of Dean Pay. He was straight to his feet though. Now with Jason Bell. 5 inside their own half. Last tackle play going to the blind side for the kick. Smith was hit after kicking by Butterfield. They have found the line, but it did appear a fraction late.
What a good hit. He absolutely smashed Jason Smith, did Tony Butterfield. No touch dodge in. The referee has either seen it and just dismissed it. And the question is, could Tony Butterfield have pulled out of that charge?
Well, I don't think he could have. I agree with the referee. I think that he was committed to the tackle. This might show it up even a little bit better. There's no way none he could have pulled out of that.
The point of Butterfield's shoulder that has come into contact with the head of Jason Smith. No hit of an elbow.
Straight away, Brian Smith has got a replacement ready on the sideline. Brett Horsnell in 16, who was very, very good for them last week in the front row, will come into the game. Jason Smith being led from the field. He's walking under his own steam to a large degree, and that's a good sign. We'll be back.
So a blow for Parramatta with just 3.5 minutes gone. And Newcastle, first chance with the ball in their hands, wide with Craigie. Straight away they go on the attack. Cut down out wide, that was Adam McDougall. He handled himself very well last week. He'd been out of first grade for quite some time, injury. And Newcastle with it just outside their 30. This is Harrigan, Raper, getting in to lock up the ball with Horsnell. And Clemens back for Johns, kicking before the last, and from inside the 40. Off the side of the boot, Navali is able to let that one go over the sideline. Not the original intentions of Johns with the kick. He was wanting an extra 15 metres on that one.
Yeah, just off the side of the boot there from Andrew Johns, but a very confident play early from Newcastle. From the scrum win, going across to the far wing. A couple of cut-out passes. And that shows a confident football team when they're prepared to string passes in their own 20-metre area.
Jason Bell worked that scrum with Simon at 5'8". Now across for McCracken, trying to brush away from Craigie. Able to wrap up Jared McCracken. Now Barnes, 5 short of halfway. In fact, it was Carl Lovell, Raper. Coming across, Horsnell pulled up in the tackle right on that halfway line. Waiting for him was Butterfield. Hay getting plenty of hit-ups early in this match and able to offload that time. Carriage was there in support. A looping pass, well handled by Horsnell. Then for Simon. They've got a one-man overlap if he could pass, but Matthew Johns was there in defence. Now 45 metres out. And the Eels getting a roll on now as Morgan got the pass for Bell. They may not stop Bell. From behind comes Albert, and there's the pass for Barnes. Oh, what a try to Parramatta. Jason Bell linking up with Nathan Barnes. Plenty of elation from the Eels.
Great stuff from the Parramatta team there. Justin Morgan, he's a fine young player and he's had a great season. He steps back inside and Jason Bell runs into the gap, takes on Robbie Davis. Albert gets him from behind, but what about the pass? A one-hander popping it up onto the chest of Nathan Barnes. You won't see a better one for a long, long time.
Yeah, great play from Justin Morgan, and Jason Bell did well to actually change direction and run into the hole. And from there, I thought he might get there on his own, but O'Davis came across, they got him from behind, and it's just a magical pass, this one. Darren Albert's got plenty of speed. He knew that Barnes was there. Good backing up there from Nathan Barnes, and it's all Parramatta.
And of course, good awareness from Nathan Barnes to improve the position, taking it round to make the kick a little bit easier for Ian Heron. It's been a physical start for both teams, some big hitting from Newcastle. The first break set up by Justin Morgan, and Jason Bell able to capitalise.
Just talking of Jason Bell, a leading contender for the Nokia Player of the Year, the Proven Summons Medal to be awarded, to be announced on Tuesday night. I'm sure Jason Bell will figure high in the counting. Heron, his second kick, only from 15 metres out. And this for an 8-point lead. Heron is on target. The Eels, they take control early of this one, leading by 8 points to 0, 7 gone. Jason Smith, the man on the bench. Now back with Andrew Johns. They got off to the worst possible start, out on the full from the commencement of play. He's had 2 restarts since. So out of trouble. The Parramatta side just beyond their 30-metre line. Harrigan getting through plenty of defence. Now a dart for Raper.
There's plenty of defence to get through for the Knights. We have a look at the tackles early in this game. 26 for the Newcastle team. Only 3 for the Parramatta side. So in the first 8 minutes, all the possession going to the blue and goals as John Simon finds a bit of space. Robbie Davis takes it on the first bounce.
Both teams now showing their hand kicking before the last tackle. Davis is taken high in that tackle.
It's a careless tackle from the Parramatta team. Brett Horsfall being called out. No damage done.
Step of Robbie Davis into the arm of Brett Horsnell. Steve Roach, let's get a report from you on Jason Smith.
Yeah, well, Jason Smith, as you saw, caught Tony Butterfield's shoulder right on the point of the chin. He's just trying to clear his head at the moment. He'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Newcastle possession just inside their 40. Now Harrigan running back to the centre of the ruck. They met in the tackle of Horsnell and also McCracken. Johns there for Muir. That was Matthew Johns delivering the pass. Clements has a race on to get the dummy half. Glanville beats him to that point, and now Matthew Johns again inside the Parramatta 40. Spinning as he met the line, the tackle of Pay and Morgan. Andrew Johns, they trail by 8. Well handled there by Simon, plucking the ball out of the air on the Johns chip over the top. So not much going right at the moment for the Newcastle Knights. And this is Paul Carriage. The fullback at home for Newcastle as Parramatta work their way to within 40 now of the Newcastle line and a penalty. The Newcastle Knights in a moment will be under all sorts of pressure.
Well, Paul Carriage has very fond memories of the last encounter against Newcastle on Craigie stripping the ball there. He scored one of the tries of the season, instrumental in getting them home in a close one at Parramatta Stadium. He went about 80 metres on that occasion. Had a pretty good run there. 6 tackles now, 25 metres out. Horsnell takes it inside the 20.
This is second against third. They both finished level on 29 competition points. The Eels up by 8 early. Hay turning to pass and finding Simon flat-footed. Clements came over the top. Scrappy play the ball from Simon. Raper, though, taking off for another 15 metres. He almost had the right arm free, and Carriage was there in support. Nick away for Simon. Long cutout ball, missed out 2. Bell's got the race for this one, and he's got a try as well. Jason Bell setting up the first try. Now he's got one of his own, and the Eels lead by 12.
Well, what a start. I'm speechless up here, and it's just great vision. Look, the cutout pass, as we freeze it there, you can see that across under the posts is the closest player, Darren Albert here for Newcastle, and a heap of space for Jason Bell as he slides one through. Backed himself. Albert turned to chase. He is a speedster, but all the momentum with Jason Bell.
Good to see a play taking his own chances. He's done that. Jason Bell trusted himself in his own ability, and he's come up with another try for the Parramatta side. And Newcastle making too many mistakes, giving away. Ooh, well.
A hint of a knock-on?
A hint, a dead set knock-on. A dead set hint of a knock-on.
A big hint of a knock-on. Let's have a look at it. He comes in trying to get his body down.
Oh.
Yeah, he's knocked on.
No try. How the in-goal judges missed that. He would have been right in front of it. I mean, he deserved a try, but let's face it, it is no try.
Well, that is cruel. On that decision, Jason Bell getting it, beautifully worked. And that scoreline, a little shattering for the Newcastle Knights right now, 12 points to 0. Heron has had 2 kicks from this side of the ground for 2 successful attempts. It's a little wider still, 8 metres in from touch. Some question mark that perhaps it's Albert's hand that knocked that out of Bell's grasp. We'll have a closer look shortly. Heron's kick. Will that swing around? Not this time. It's 12 points to 0 to the Eels. Now, let's have a look again at Jason Bell. Does Albert get a hand in? Well, they've both competed. Bell's got there first for mine.
Yeah, he's touched it first, Bell. That's a knock.
Steve Roach on the sideline.
Yeah, well, it's all right to be aggressive in defence, but Newcastle are really trying to gang tackle Parramatta, and they're having a fair bit of luck on the fringe of the ruck. If they spread it away from the middle of that ruck, they're going to get numbers all night.
All day, all night. Aaron Pettit is on for the Eels in 18, and now Dean Pay. Big experience for Pettit, local junior, in this finals appearance. And back with Morgan. Getting a step as he got to the line. Butterfield was low in the tackle. Andrew Johns over the top. Simon kicking inside the 40. And O'Davis has got a bit of work to do here. The bounce stood up and comes back Parramatta's way. And a chance there for Heron. And he put the dustiest of attempts in trying to kick it past Robbie O'Davis.
Well, I'll tell you what, if Ian Heron was onside, and that seems to be the ruling, it was more than just a chance for them. He's way onside. He's 15 metres onside. They almost should have scored from this. If he'd have got any sort of kickback on the inside. Paul Carriage was there. So too Carl Lovell. But I'll tell you what, Manchester United won't be in a hurry to sign him up.
So Newcastle on their own 30 with Mark Glanville. And now Parramatta caught offside.
Yeah, Jared McCracken a mile offside there. Really made no attempt to get back. Good work from the Newcastle runner to go towards him. Just have a look on the far side. McCracken, well, he's 3 or 4 metres offside and gets involved in the tackle.
Newcastle on the end of a start that they applied themselves to Balmain last week when Balmain were looking to stay in finals contention. In the space of 15 minutes, they'd conceded 3 tries, the Tigers. Eden is back-slammed in that tackle by Raper and Pay. This is a typically big match start from Dean Pay as Muir bumps away. There's been Bell that he beat and now picked up by Navali. Newcastle unable to come up with a loose ball. Matthew Gidley was going for it.
Still down on the ground. Jason Bell sick and sorry as Nathan Barnes finds some metres up the middle of the ruck. Well, getting to his feet now. Some momentum. Navali out of dummy half going centre field. Bell limping off.
That's another bad sign for the Eels with Smith already concussed as Dimmick is 35 metres out from the Newcastle line. They're able to slow up this play the ball. They were under, well, they're in a little bit of bother in the tackles leading up to that one. Morgan for the Newcastle 30-metre line. Russell Wire coming on for Parramatta. Now Raper a dummy half. Last tackle, Simon. Here comes the high ball. It's wide out for McDougall. He's called for it and comes down with it. Adam McDougall for the Newcastle Knights. Away from Pay and then away from another. Contained just short of the 20-metre line. Pettit came over the top.
Hey, Newcastle got the football. I'm sure their coach Malcolm really would like to see them complete a full set of 6. They haven't done it so far in the match, or apart from one bad kick from Andrew Johns. I mean, you're throwing the ball anywhere. Adam Muir, the last time they got it. Let's see if they can hang on to the football here.
Just outside their 30 with Clements. Back for Glanville. Made a life member last week of the Newcastle Knights. Andrew Johns. Maybe a chance here. O'Davis diving to pass, breaking quick hands. McDougall wide out. McCracken had come across in cover and makes the tackle. That is tackle 5. 45 out from the Parramatta line. Andrew Johns. He'll test out Paul Carriage. The kick may be a little deep. Carriage back on his own goal line. Falling to take it. A touch of Matt Sears about that one. And Carriage is off now. Back over the 20-metre line. And big Paul Harrigan has cleaned up the Parramatta fullback. Now back with Pettit. Net front on by Glanville.
He's in rare form, isn't he? Paul Harrigan played some great football in recent weeks. Big tackle there. Aaron Raper tries to use a couple of Newcastle players as shepherds. Harrigan, especially in the offload department, really has blossomed.
Quite a difference between the two teams so far. The dummy half running, the success Raper is having. Raper's there again for Simon. Now Pay. He's got Dimmick on his outside. Spun in the tackle, able to offload from McCracken. Then quick hands for Carriage. Now they're away with Lovell. He's got Heron on his outside, and Heron is on his way for try number 3. Parramatta. Some scintillating football from the Eels, and I dare say they are back.
Let's sit here and watch this all afternoon. Another well-constructed try. Dean Pay heavily involved. Frees it there. You can see Dean Pay on the ground has been able to offload. Paul Carriage has come around, this man here, to create the overlap. This play continues. All he did was draw McDougall, on to Lovell. The important thing was for Heron to stay on side. He only just stayed on side. It looked as though it might have been touch and go. But after Dean Pay was able to attract a couple of defenders here, turned, got the pass away, and McCracken, he took Craigie. Carriage took care of McDougall, and then it was simple work from there on.
Let's watch one of the great wingers in flight, Ian Heron. Look at him go. Well, get it down, Chook. But it's a well-constructed try from Parramatta. This is the type of play they've been trying the last few weeks at the Parramatta Stadium and the likes. Hasn't been coming off, but today everything's coming off for them.
Ian Heron, just being back in the side, it does lift the confidence of this Parramatta team, especially coming from a match where they did score 3 tries to 1 and got beaten. So the fact that they know he's going to put over probably 60 to 70% is going to lift the side, and it has. If they can make it 18-0 after 20-odd minutes, it would exceed all expectations.
Came into today's match with 56 points for the season. He's already got 8 next to his name in this one. I see Newcastle shattered after the previous try. They're now in a state of shock. Heron successful, converting his own try, and that scoreline is the Eels 18, the Knights 0. 18 gone. Some grim-looking faces on the Newcastle bench. With the Knights, Andrew Johns, that restart of play. Keep in mind, Parramatta came into this final series with a 20-point loss to Balmain, and then some indifferent form last week in the draw with St George. But they've come out here and they lead by 18 points to 0 against the Newcastle side, who in contrast went into the finals with 5 wins under their belt.
You also keep in mind that Newcastle had no quality football in the first 20 minutes of this game. They will get some, so they'll come back at Parramatta. Blue and Goals, well, they'll need to realise that, and I'm sure that Brian Smith will send the message out for them to keep their minds on the job. Jason Bell left the field limping off. Steve Roach, what's the story?
Yeah, it's a cork thigh at the moment. The doctor's still having a look at him. I'm sure he'll be back, but...
That kick from Simon was from inside the 40. Robbie O'Davis from his own goal line. Navali over the top, assisting Barnes with that tackle. Now Albert away for Gidley. A good test of character for some of these young Newcastle Knights, the likes of Gidley and Craigie, to see how they now function in this game. When they look at an 18-0 scoreline, will they start to push the pass? Here's Muir, the 20-metre line, taken sideways in the Pettit tackle. Now Fletcher, his first touch of the ball coming from the bench. He's done basically for all of the season. Rarely starts a game. Andrew Johns kicking. And from inside his 30-metre line, there's another one of the Parramatta Eels down at the moment. Carriage from his own 20-metre line. We'll pick up the Eels player in a moment. Away from Gidley in the tackle. Then away from Richards. Aaron Raper is the player down. That's way back on the Newcastle 30. And Jason Bell, a dummy half. Here's for Barnes. It's a halfway. Butterfield trying to get a hold of the tackle. Barnes has done very well to carry Butterfield and Richards another 5 or 6 metres. Morgan along for Pettit. Muir almost launching himself into the tackle. And now Dimmick, who's so dangerous on that short side. McCracken puts it down. The first knock on will be against Parramatta.
McCracken put it down, and Owen Craigie nearly plucked it out of the air, and if he had have, he'd have gone all the way. Just have a look how close this is. Dimmick throws the pass, nearly straight into the arms of Craigie. He'd have had enough speed to get away. Aaron Raper very slow to come to this scrum.
Another statistic to keep in mind as we headed into this game. Newcastle, at the end of the 22 rounds of the Optus Cup, had the best defence in the league. They passed Balmain with the last game of the season. O'Davis finding Gidley. This is Gidley's first game in the starting lineup since they took on the Roosters. That seems a long time ago, almost 2 months ago. And the Knights are 5 metres inside the Parramatta half. Clements, the man, a dummy half. For Andrew Johns, a spin and pass for his brother Matthew. Fletcher and a decoy inside. Gidley looking to offload. Now 30 metres out. Bell did well in defence. He's taking him over the sideline. Albert There for Matthew Johns. That spiralling ball for Andrew Johns. There could be a gap here for Craigie. Closed quickly to defence, sliding across in the shape of Jared McCracken. 15 metres out. Last play. Andrew Johns stepping in a bit of trouble. Finds O'Davis. Then Muir. Muir looking to pass on the spin. It comes back for Craigie. A metre out from the line. And that is a Newcastle try. McDougall at the finish. It looked like it was going to die. They just kept it alive, and it's 18-4.
Tremendous work from the Newcastle side, keeping the ball alive. In the end, Dougal only had to go about 2 metres, but they rushed up Parramatta, and that allowed Robbie O'Davis to get down the short side of the ruck. Adam Muir got involved, spun around as he is so adept at doing, and found Owen Craigie. And Craigie just a simple ball in behind Johnny Simon for McDougall to dive over the top of Aaron Raper to get on the board.
Yeah, it's a good try from the Knights. I felt the last set of 6 was the best they've had. They've held on to the football, started to put a few things together. It's a good play here from firstly Muir, and then I just had a little doubt on this last pass from Owen Craigie. Does that ball go forward? But they're back. I suppose Newcastle can take heart from what happened yesterday in yesterday's game, the fact that Norse led 13-0 at half-time and the Roosters came back to win the match.
Parramatta really did have an opportunity to stop that try. Adam Muir came in and he took 3 defenders out. Heron was involved, so too Carl Lovell, but he was still able to offload. Andrew Johns now on the better side for a right footer, but they don't come much more difficult.
Just for the record, are you suggesting extra time, Fatty, just so that we've got it if there is?
You never know. Semi-finals, anything can happen.
Johns is kicked from 20 in the sideline. The junction off. The kick is well wide across the face, but at least the Knights are on the board. So the long road back. The Eels 18, the Knights 4. The 24-minute mark. Parramatta coming up with 3 tries in the opening quarter of the game. So Parramatta, Ian Heron with his restart. They have resumed finals football where they left off, winning the 86 premiership. The final appearance of Mick Cronin and Ray Price, that 86 grand final will be best remembered for. Newcastle in possession on their own 20. Andrew Johns. Hasn't had many chances to run the football as yet. Clements. Right now with Peden and picked up by Jason Bell. Clements again for Muir. Bumped into Raper, who was able to hang on in the tackle. Morgan and Pettit there to prevent any chance of an offload. Newcastle up to their own 40-metre line. Johns, can he get some sort of distance with this one? Carriage is on the chase back. So too is Ian Heron. Between them, Heron's the man who ends up with it. Heron confronted by 4 defenders and taken by the first man there, Fletcher. Good work from the Newcastle Knights. Now Navali. Fletcher, a double. And now Carriage. Over the 20-metre line. We've said it before, he's been one of the great success stories of 1997, Paul Carriage. He was on the scrap heap at the start of the year, was playing even without a contract. Now Morgan, met by the Newcastle defence. That's the best hit of the match between those two, Richards and Muir. Simon's kick from 35 out from his own line, straight down the throat of Robbie O'Davis. Suddenly things just swinging a little Newcastle's way. Albert is with it. Barnes with a tackle.
Well, if Newcastle came up with their best set of 6 leading up to the try, that was probably Parramatta's worst set. Really didn't get a lot of go forward there. Navali only picked up a metre or 2. Justin Morgan, the only man to make some good ground. As some possession now coming the Novo Castians' way. Wayne Richards takes it inside the Parramatta half.
Followed up now by Harrigan. Good tackle from Raper, front on Paul Harrigan. Matthew Johns finds Peden. Peden on the inside run. Inside the Eels 20. Pass comes back inside and Muir. Newcastle now, the fight back is well underway. Brian Smith, reason for concern. The Eels were opened up.
And Andrew Johns having a good chat to his players, telling them to lift, and that's exactly what they've done. As they come to the right-hand side of the field, he frees it there. You can see 2 Parramatta players have been committed by the one Newcastle player coming across, and his play continues. The ball goes back inside. Bill Peden shows good speed to get away from Pettit and good vision to find Adam Muir back on the inside. He in turn had Robbie O'Davis, who could have scored as well. But it wasn't well read by the Parramatta players. John Simon had to stay back inside, but he opted to get involved in the tackle. And Peden, very underrated player in this Newcastle team.
That's the first time in the match that Newcastle have decided to throw the ball back on the inside, on the angle. Parramatta have been a bit lax in that area. Been waiting for them to do it. They've finally done it, and they've come up with a try.
As Brian Smith looks on in very disappointed fashion, one of the things that he would have stressed to his players during the week was the inside run of this Newcastle team, especially involving Adam Muir.
John successful with a kick of the Adam Muir try, 18 points to 10, 12 out from half-time.
And although it wasn't Muir who comes up with the bust, he does score the try. John Simon really had to stay in. And Bill Peden, good speed.
And more often than not, it's Muir, the man on the inside ball. Bill Peden, another player who's enjoyed his finest season. Before this year, it started only 3 games. It made 34 or 37 appearances in first grade, all off the bench. He's been a permanent fixture this year. Harrigan from the restart. Hay went for a shot on Harrigan on the run back and missed. Rape has been left behind again.
Yeah, he's got plenty of blood coming as Brett Horsnell takes an intercept. Rape will be dispatched to the blood bin very shortly.
Now Pay, 20 metres out from the Newcastle line. Raper is headed to the sideline. Bell slots into dummy half. Now picking up Morgan. Running into a ball-and-all tackle from Matthew Johns. And there was his brother Andrew. Now Jason Bell. Simon away with Dimmy. Carriages inside. On the outside is McCracken. He juggled over the shoulder. Muir's on the chase and makes the tackle. 15 metres out from the Newcastle line. Parramatta up by 8. They did lead by 18 points to 0. Here's Carriage submitting in the tackle as Harrigan came through. Last tackle for the Eels. Dimmickers to the left, Simon to the right, Simon with it. Threads that kick through, a stumble by McDougall. Here he covers in the nick of time.
Oh, great effort from McDougall. He was gone. He'd slipped over and he was 100 to 1, but he made that second effort, got up and saved what would have been a try. It's having a fine game, McDougall out there on the wing. He falls over, gets up and gets the ball.
In the meantime, Newcastle with a weaving run from O'Davis, almost to their 20. Now Fletcher ran into a shoulder of John Simon. Let's take a comment from Steve Roach.
Yeah, really important for Parramatta to communicate when Johns is running across field. It's better off for one man to go with him and make the tackle, and that's what happened in that last try. Too many Parramatta players chased Johns across the field, the inside ball, and there was Muir to score.
5 tries the first 30 minutes of this match, most unexpected. As Carriage comes back to the 40 again, he pulls up as he gets to the defence, and they punish him in the tackle. It was Bill Peden that time. This is Navali. Right on that Parramatta 40.
The tide has definitely turned. Parramatta now finding it difficult to get enough troops back. Some big defence. There's another shot on Jason Bell, this time from Billy Peden.
Right now it's Newcastle with a player down. Gidley's on the Parramatta 40. They're down to 12 as Barnes, one of their try scorers, finished off over the top by Peden. Then Simon with Dimmick kicking for Heron. Oh, Lovell's leading the chase. Back there is McDougall able to let that ball go over the sideline. Heron basically pulled out of the chase. Now in the meantime, McBlain has blown time off.
Is that Gidley down?
It is Gidley. He clutched it at the ankle or shin basically straight away once he went to ground.
Yeah, you can normally tell from the body movement of a player whether it's serious or not, and his body language says that he's got a major problem down around the ankle area.
When they're calling for the stretcher.
Number 17 is the man we're looking at. Yeah, he's got a problem, all right. See, his left leg got caught under the falling Navali. Jason Smith coming back into the fray. A sad loss here for Newcastle because Matthew Gidley is one of the fine young players in the game. Played for country this year. He's only just come back from injury in the last couple of weeks. And this is a major blow.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier that's his, well, it was his first appearance since that game against the Roosters, where he suffered a knee problem. Some problems too for Parramatta. Paul Carriage didn't appear to be 100% as he walked from the field. So the medical staff of both teams are working overtime. 9 minutes out from half-time. Parramatta 18, Newcastle 10. Dean Pay to the sideline. Very strong performance from Dean Pay. 7 hit-ups. Still the concern right now with young Matthew Gidley.
A fairly nasty cut to Aaron Raper as well.
Brett Grogan is already on the field as the replacement for Matthew Gidley. This youthful three-quarter line that Newcastle have. Gidley just 20 years of age, alongside the 19-year-old Owen Craigie. And I think you get the picture as the leg went one way and the foot the other as they attempted to tackle Epirama Navali. So a tragedy for young Matthew Gidley. We can only hope that it's not quite as bad as it appeared. "31 minutes gone, and Matthew Gidley has played his last football for the afternoon and possibly for the season. Steve Roach will have a report shortly as Newcastle are in possession with Craigie. Not through a poor attempted tackle as it turned out from Horsnell. Now Glanville, quick hands on for the replacement for Gidley. Grogan. The starting lineup released on Tuesday night. He was there on the starting side, and here's Fletcher to the 40-metre line. Newcastle trailing by 8, and they've come up with a drop ball.
That's a very poor play of the ball here. And Troy Fletcher struggling to get up. There's a hand there.
Yeah, Justin Morgan should have been penalised.
No doubt about it.
Russell Wire has moved back into the fullback position for Parramatta with Paul Carriage off the field. John Simon feeding the scrum, centre field 40 out. They keep it in trying to draw a penalty. Simon finds a little bit of space down the right-hand side.
Glanville was the tackler around the right ankle of Simon. Now losing the football was Troy Campbell, so Newcastle on the turnover with Adam Muir. That was on the second tackle. The Knights have wiped away 10 of the early deficit. And you have to say at the moment they're on top. More points before half-time, though, would be very handy. Now Johns with Glanville, 30 metres out from the Parramatta line. Campbell makes the tackle. Clements in a dummy half. Switching back to the left. Andrew Johns probing there. Morgan over the top in the tackle. 5 tackles gone. Matthew Johns. Will they kick to the wing of Ian Heron? A ricochet off the legs of Jim Dimmick. This is play on for the Eels. Dimmick doesn't get the bounce. And Parramatta a knock on, so Newcastle will get another set of 6 from the scrum.
Yeah, well, he got the bounce, but he couldn't control the ball and dropped it. The head's down. He knows that could have been invaluable had he have got that football.
Well, I think he's worried now with his right shoulder. He's still down, Jim Dimmick, at the end of this. Fallen on the point of his right shoulder. So can you believe more troubles now for the Eels? Jim Dimmick, one of their playmakers.
He's one of the rare players on this Parramatta side who've had finals experience here at the Sydney Football Stadium. He's had plenty of shoulder problems over the last season or two, and a fall like that is not going to help. Jason Smith coming in to clean up. Dimmick will leave the field, pay back on, so it's a revolving door for both camps at the moment.
I suppose having led 18-0, Peter, that they'd be desperate to try and hang on to this now an 8-point lead. Another try to Newcastle. And it's all going their way, isn't it?
I think they'd be devastated if they didn't go in with at least an 8-point lead at half-time, Paul. I really think that psychologically it would be a major problem for them in the second 40.
Is Craigie. Let's just start to cast our minds back to efforts of Cronulla in recent seasons in finals football. Some big leads that they have squandered. I think one was against Newcastle in '95. Now Clements away for Matthew Johns. Harrigan pushed back in the tackle and comes up with John Simon. He was desperate to get the pass away, and Simon was sweating on it for the Eels. Crossfield back for McCracken. Ridden to ground by Fletcher.
It's so important now just for Parramatta and for Newcastle to get through a good set of 6. The Eels claiming that Russell Wire was taken high. Jason Smith, good strong tackle from Matthew Johns front on. He's come up with a couple of beauties.
They've all been front on. Simon here for Dean Pay. Ran a bit of an angle and Muir picked him off. Last tackle for Parramatta. Simon will try that high ball on Robbie O'Davis. Right back on his own goal line. Heron is coming through. O'Davis is with it. And back to the 20-metre line for the restart of play. And McLean calling out Paul Harrigan here.
We're not going to have the penalty. Stand up, mate, please. Stand up. You know what it's for? It's a big windy bush. If you'd have connected, I reckon we'd have caught it somewhere else. I know you're aiming for here. Yes, yes. Let's just keep him down.
He's been listening to your commentary, Paul. He's called it a windy whoosh.
Windy whoosh, he missed out the car. It was a windy whooshka. He's had a great game, the Chief.
And now Glanville. 15 metres inside their own half, Newcastle. 5.5 minutes out from the break. Andrew Johns, winner today to play Manly. Harrigan coming back inside off the Johns pass. Jim Dimmick at right shoulder now.
He's got the ice packs on. Stop any swelling as Adam Muir again back on the inside, finds some space. Good offload to Clements.
And a quick play the ball from Clements. Now there's some interference there. Penalised will be Jason Bell. This is 40 metres out from the Parramatta line, right in front, but Johns is looking for the tap. That is the way they go. Now Bill Peden.
I'm very surprised with that. I thought that they would kick for goal there to take them to 6 behind. I do think that they'd have put it dead. I'm not quite sure of the bruise. We'll get that from Steve Wright shortly. That might have been a factor, but if anything, it looks to be favouring Newcastle.
The other thing being, Peter, maybe they think they've got Parramatta on toast at the moment. They're making huge inroads every time they use the football.
15 metres out. Harrigan was tackled. Low by Morgan. Matthew Johns to Andrew Johns, working that short side. A dummy from Johns. Not fallen for. Pay fell off in the tackle, but Horsnell was underneath. Now Matthew Johns, can they stretch the Eels? It comes wide for Craigie. He's got Peden on his outside. Then McDougall. McDougall is over for the Knights. McLean's on the chase, but McDougall will be awarded the try. There it is for the Newcastle Knights. They trailed 18-0. Have a look at it now.
Yeah, Paul Vaughton is exactly right. They felt as though they were going to do better than 2 points. This set it up, a nice bust up the middle. Brett Clements taking advantage of a good ball from Adam Muir. That was the penalty. Andrew Johns never thought about anything else but a tap. And as we freeze it there, you can see that this long pass from Johns gets outside. This man here is the man that's got a problem for Parramatta to try and get across, because that's his player. As play unfolds, he can't get over there, Jared McCracken, and all of a sudden everybody is outside their man. And McDougall, no problems getting around Heron. Great ball here from Matthew Johns.
Yeah, when it's not Andrew Johns hurting you, it's Matthew Johns. I don't know who's the better player. There's not much between them. They set this up beautifully, and Ian Heron, honestly, didn't have to come in. You've got to have confidence in your inside man. It's all right sitting up here, but he came in and there's the try.
And Paul McLean consulted his in-goal judge to see where the ball had been put down. We saw McDougall go to ground just inside the corner post, get up and run another 5 or 6 metres in. The in-goal judge said every right to do so, didn't ground the football. So a touch easier.
I've got to admit, my chief concern again, Peter, with that try was the last pass to McDougall. There's been 2 passes there that we've seen plenty of times this year pulled up. Johns anyway has the kick from 11 metres in from touch. They may still trail on the scoreboard, but it'll be the Newcastle Knights in one way that will go to the break with the advantage. Andrew Johns off the boot, successful. Newcastle have pulled it back to 2 at 18 points to 16 and 3 remaining.
I am a little bit critical of the Parramatta defence sliding at this end of the field. They really don't get up and put pressure on, and by the time these last couple of passes are thrown, and that's the one that there is a bit of doubt from, the one from Peden to McDougall, I just think they're making it a little bit easier for Newcastle in the attack to get the ball across there. If you're going to slide, you've still got to come up.
Aaron took some time with a restart. 2 out from the break. Newcastle, have they finished their half's work yet? As Butterfield has tackled, 15 out from his own line. Clements scooping that ball up for Harrigan. Leading the way for the Newcastle side, Paul Harrigan with 10 tackles and 10 hit-ups.
The good thing about Paul Harrigan's game at the moment, Andrew, is that as Clements brushes through some awful defence once again, finally throws the ball away, it will be a Parramatta scrum feed. But Paul Harrigan, I think, these days gets better as the game goes on. A lot of front rowers, they sort of come out, bust themselves for 10 or 15 minutes and lose their impact. Harrigan seems to be able to go better for longer these days.
Brett Clemens has earned himself a nice cut over the eye after that bust. Tragedy at the end there, but some good defence from Jared McCracken. And the man doing it the hardest at the moment is the bloke in the box here, Vossi. Sterlo, 18 mil, he was flying, but get some oxygen up here quick for him.
Well, the moment I mentioned the Crow and Ray Price, he started walking down memory lane, and it's all gone wrong. Oh, there's a high tackle from Harrigan. McBlain says across the chest. It was a very loose arm, though, in the tackle from the Chief. Now Barnes detected, or rather Wire, I detected a bit of a goose step as he took the ball forward. Raper is back from the blood bin. Smith's long ball with Lovell. John's very good defensively today for Newcastle. Now Parramatta 30 metres out from the line with Pay. They get the last chance. Good hands from Smith. Then Simon, then Bell. There's a big overlap. It comes wide for Barnes. Barnes for the corner. Alvin and O'Davis with a tackle. Superb work between the pair. They sandwiched him in the tackle, and O'Davis, he appears to be unconscious. 10 metres out from the line, last tackle. Simon kicks it off the bounce. It's gone over the dead ball line.
Unconscious. Sterlo's unconscious after that.
Oh, what's going on here? Robbie O'Davis, well, he's in some trouble.
He needs help.
Yeah. What about the skill here from Jason Smith? Have a look at this take from Dean Pay. Brilliant stuff there, and then able to get the ball to John Simon. The good pass from Jason Bell and Nathan Barnes. Well, the great thing for Newcastle is that Darren Albert is such a speedster. He had some help from Robbie O'Davis, and unfortunately the Newcastle custodian hasn't moved.
They call for the doctor, so it's very serious.
Pass went astray to John Simon on the last tackle, so he didn't even try and take the football. He just put the boot to it. Ryan Smith, you could probably say that he's not particularly impressed with that last play.
Well, they've stopped the clock with 9 seconds remaining in this first half. We had it happening on both sides of the field there. And at the finish of it, Simon just put the heave-ho with a boot to the bouncing ball. Now, was there a head clash as O'Davis makes this tackle, or does his head come into contact with the ground?
Yeah, it's a head clash, all right. And then a fairly hefty hit of the head when he did get down to ground level.
Steve Roach on the sideline.
This has been a war, this game. There's so many players going down injured. I don't know if we'll finish the game with 13 on 13. Paul Carriage at the moment, he's got a bruised back. He'll be back after half-time. Also, Jimmy Dimmick, he'll be back his right shoulder. And they've just taken Gidley off to hospital. He's going to have x-rays on his ankle. So plenty of players paying the price.
Which is the way it is in semi-finals. You always lift the cog for a big match. All these players have had 22 rounds of the Premiership getting ready for this game, and they have lifted.
Yeah, nothing worse than to see players leave in this fashion, and that's 2 now for Newcastle. Gidley off on a stretcher. Robbie O'Davis, the same fate.
Well, 9 seconds to go. I mean, maybe the ref, he might have been better off calling half-time and let's get off the field. And
Well, I don't know if they can do that from there.
oh, it's been done before.
Well, Robbie O'Davis leads the field. We talked about Jason Bell being a contender for the Proven Summons medal. Robbie O'Davis, it'll come as no surprise if he's the man awarded with it come Tuesday night. Andrew Johns in what should be the last play of the half, tackled on the 30-metre line. The clock on ground is back to 0, and that is the end of the first 40 minutes. Well, there's been plenty of drama, plenty of tension. Parramatta led by 18 points to 0. Yet we go to the break at 18-16, 3 tries all, and only a 2-point advantage to Parramatta. We'll take a break and come back with a second half in this final number 3 for the ARL first weekend of the Harvey Norman Finals. Welcome back to the Sydney Football Stadium after what was in some ways the most amazing half of football. Parramatta leading by 18-0 early, and then Newcastle starting their run with 3 tries. A 2-point advantage at half-time as we have a look at the Parramatta side returning and also some of the statistics to come out of that first 40 minutes.
It was a very torrid first 40 minutes, wasn't it? And 4 points scored. All the possession was Parramatta's early. Newcastle did come back into it in the second half of the first half to get to 48%. Line breaks, well, they favour the Newcastle Knights, and that's a touch surprising. And the handling error is definitely going against the Newcastle team. That is the one area that Malcolm will really stress When they get their sets of 6, they need to work through them to get the kicking game going as well. Tremendous work from Billy Peden, 17 tackles. Good work rate from Paul Harrigan in both departments, 11 tackles and 10 hit-ups. And Adam Muir's been very dangerous as well for the Parramatta team. Justin Morgan's had an outstanding game, 18 tackles. Darren Pettit came off the bench and he's come up with 11. And McCracken has done some very, very good cover work for the Parramatta side. He's come up with 10 tackles as well.
Ready for the start of the second half. Winner of this match to play Manly next Sunday. McLean blows time on. We neglected to mention the crowd right at the top. I dare say it is a bit disappointing, the crowd. We were probably expecting 25, 30,000 for this one. Two of the better supported sides in the competition. I think we'll be hard pressed to reach 20. And the Knights are with it with Butterfield. We should also take stock of the injured players. Jim Dimmick is back out there for Parramatta. Not so Paul Carriage. And Gidley and O'Davis off for Newcastle, and one wouldn't expect either player to return. Clements is with it. Running into the Raper tackle. He's done well, Clements. In what would be the biggest match of his life, this one. Butterfield, a second hit up in this set of 6. 5 metres short of halfway. Last tackle. Morgan was the tackler. Back for Andrew Johns, kicking from outside the 40. Russell Wire at fullback. He can link up here with Navali if he chooses. And tackled on the 20-metre line. Muir's there. First man up on the chase. Now Raper for Navali. I just wonder about Newcastle storming their way back into this match. They would have had their spirits high. Then the blow with Robbie O'Davis. See one of your best players go from the field just seconds out from half-time. Smith there runs into Harrigan. A front-on charge then from McCracken. The pass wide there for Heron. Heron back in field. Now with Lovell. And McDougall is up with a tackle. Newcastle have Mark Hughes at fullback. He gets his chance. Morgan. Long ball from Morgan, wide out for Barnes. Navali is there. A terrible pass from Barnes.
No, I disagree. I think it was a terrible option from Navali. Why he looked to come back inside, I've got no idea. Some beautiful touches in the previous play, especially from Dean Pay and Jason Smith. Justin Morgan, he throws a lovely pass here, and I just think that Barnes has set him up beautifully to stay on the inside, and Navali looked as though he was going to come back on the outside. Sorry, he looked to come back on the inside. Well, whatever happened, it broke down in a very promising position.
The scrum 30 metres out from the Newcastle line. Dimmick broke almost before the scrum was formed. Broken the man tackle. And Steve Roach is back from the dressing rooms at half-time. What can you tell us, Steve?
Yeah, well, for Parramatta, let's get numbers in attack. Don't run one out. They're trying to gang tackle us. Also, Brian Smith said there's plenty of yardage from dummy half and we're coming out of our own end, so let's capitalise on that. He also said there's plenty of loose ball around Harrigan and Muir. Get in and around behind them for Newcastle. Firstly, Robbie O'Davis was knocked out cold for 1 minute, and it is now club policy that he will not return because of the problems they have with Paul Harrigan. Also, Malcolm really said, keep spreading the ball. They're in all sorts of trouble when we go wide. He said, make sure that we're in a better field position when we're going to bomb and make sure we make it a contest. He said, we haven't had much football yet. He said, when we do, we'll make them pay for it. He said, this is a test for all of us. He said, they are struggling out wide.
Well, we almost had you holding the phone, Steve, there as Newcastle applied some pressure with this kick. Wire was really left with no option but just to dive on the ball, and then forced in goal by Darren Albert. So a line drop out here for Parramatta. Early pressure in this second half. Simon's kick. Back as far as Mark Hughes. He was the understudy to Robbie O'Davis, and it's been a hard road to crack it for a spot in the first grade side that has had him looking for options elsewhere. And the Knights are 25 metres out from the Parramatta line. Harrigan was held up. Clements now away with Granville. He gets it inside the 20. Simon was at the end of that run. Now a quick hand from Peden, back for Clements. Andrew Johns is in motion, and then a good tackle from Raper. Clements finished off in the shot from Justin Morgan. Matthew Johns, then for Muir. Can he offload? Well, he has, but Parramatta are with it. They still had a few tackles up their sleeve as well.
Well, they're looking hot, the Knights, aren't they? Matthew Johns in particular is drifting across the field. He's causing them plenty of problems. On that occasion, though, Muir more or less thinking to offload, but just lost the football.
Now Parramatta away from their own 20 with Navali. Cross field now. Heron appeared to be offside on the chase. Touch judge doesn't think so. Either does Paul McBlade. Heron comes up with a football. Well, he's covered the ground in 0 seconds flat. McDougall couldn't believe it. Now a man coming back onside. Harrigan could be to the sin bin for that challenge on Demick.
Listen, I'm giving the players the benefit of the doubt whether it's accidental or not. The penalty is here.
Yeah, the benefit's gone Paul Harrigan's way. I tend to think that's the right decision. I think that they just got tangled up. Let's try and see whether Heron was onside. Yeah, he was a mile onside. Oh, yeah.
Well, benefit of the doubt.
He did get a big benefit, didn't he? I really think the key figure for the Parramatta team in this half is Jason Smith. He's come up with some lovely touches since coming back onto the field. He didn't get back out there until about the 26th or 28th minute mark. That was great vision to see that Heron had a lot of space. And also with some injuries now to Jason Bell. He got hurt early in this game again and early in this half as well. Dimmick's not 100%. Jason Smith could be the player that really is going to be the nucleus for the good things in the Parramatta performance.
And the chance to go for goal helps the Parramatta cause as well. Just soaking up some time, and Heron, well, now in fact McBlain has blown time off. Well, he was going through the whole lot. He was just about doing the gardening all around the mound. He was making sure everything was in place. McBlain had had enough. This kick from 32 metres out, a metre or two to the right side of the uprights. With 3 from 4 for the day, Ian Heron. And also a 4-pointer today. Looking for a 4-point lead, Ian Heron. Right foot to the football. Heron is on target, and that lead is 4 points. So the Parramatta fans, their flags fly, and it's been around about 25 minutes since that has happened. At 20 points to 16. Well, Chook's fired up. Newcastle back with Andrew Johns. Straight down the centre of the field. John Simon on his own goal line. Parramatta side, can they recapture the form that they showed for the first 15 or 20 minutes? That's a good sign. Robbie O'Davis coming back to the bench for Newcastle. Rocker's already brought us the news he'll play no further part in the match.
That's the best thing we've seen all afternoon. Robbie O'Davis able to come out and have a look at this second half. And you see blood around the ear area. You immediately think the worst, but Davis looks as though he's going to be okay.
Dean Pay. Harrigan slipped as he was coming up to make the tackle on Pay. It was left to Adam Muir. Quick play the ball from Pay for Raper. Inside their 40. Now Simon knocked down there by Muir. It's play on for Parramatta if they can get to it. Still play on with Smith. Smith is inside the Newcastle half. Morgan, the pass dribbles to Bell. And that is a key tackle from Grogan. 40 metres out from the Newcastle line, and McBlain says drop ball from Bell.
And Jason Bell not happy with the decision, claiming that it was knocked out by Brett Grogan. Touch of luck here for the Parramatta side. They got the ball back through Jason Smith. A quick offload by him, and they're away. The incident coming up now. Oh, he's just rolled it forward, knocked it forward as he went to play it.
Newcastle from the scrum. 5 inside their own half. Craigie had Glanville in support. He runs himself into the tackle of Heron. Worth looking at the lower grades from today. At this time of the year, Butterfield gets to the 40. The under-20s, a 1-point victory to the Rabbitohs. Through to take on the minor premiers Balmain, and reserve grade. That went the way of the Balmain Tigers. A 4-point win over St George. They now play Parramatta next Sunday. As the Knights on the attack, put down by Glanville. Wrapping around was Andrew Johns. It's play on, but this is the last tackle. Matthew Johns sprinting across to get in a position to supply a kick. Here it is from Johns. A high ball. Now other chasers onside. Pressure on Wire. Oh, Russell Wire. Superb take. On his own 10-metre line. And there were plenty of chasers there as well. Navali, he tries to force a pass, and Wire still on the deck was able to come up with a football. Ryan Smith would have thrown the clipboard in the air as now Navali tries to redeem himself to the 20-metre line.
Well, the carrying action of Eparama Navali is a major problem. He just gets it out in one claw. He's very susceptible to losing the football.
Now Simon, Pay, again Harrigan, he's run up quickly on Dean Pay, has missed both times. Simon spinning away from the Matthew Johns tackle. Simon stretches out, confronted by Hughes now for Heron, the kick and chase. Heron's kick bounces up for McDougall, and Newcastle have it. Jock Heron is producing all the tricks from the bag as Albert is with it for Newcastle.
Yeah, but having said that, I'm not a great fan of kicking forward. It wasn't the last tackle. John Simon shows good speed, gets through Matthew Johns, shows a select pass, and there was always Newcastle defence there. I think they'd have been better off taking the tackle and to play the ball.
Now Newcastle working through their tackles in quick time. They've only got it back to beyond the 20-metre line on the last. Andrew Johns given time to run and kick. Again, Brian Smith would be a little disappointed with the pressure put on the kicker. Parramatta start this set of 6, 5 metres inside their own half. 10 minutes gone in the second period. Just a goal to Ian Heron. Right on halfway. Now with Bell. Simon. He has Dimmick. And Dimmick is with it. Pushing along for McCracken. Not too much straight running there. Lovell's on the end of it. Matthew Johns was there in an instant to make the tackle. Horsnell provides the hit up they were hoping for. Richards with a tackle. Now 35 metres out from the Newcastle line. Raper for Simon. Long ball from Simon, cutting out Pay and picking up Morgan. Morgan straight running the offload for Bell. Wrapped up 15 metres out from the line. Last tackle for Parramatta. Simon is first receiver to the right. Bell is down again for Parramatta. This time it's a leg injury. Simon is with it. Pressure is going to be on Adam McDougall. Wide out is Carl Lovell. He bats it back, but into the hands of Craigie. And Newcastle have diffused it yet again.
Well, you'd think that Jason Bell is on borrowed time. He's been down 3 or 4 times in this game. And still down receiving attention. And there's the call to the bench. He'll be off shortly and won't be back. The 14 taking forward Wayne Richards, and now Paul McLean stops play with the player down hurt.
It's another stretcher job for Parramatta. What a game. What a rough and tumble game, this one.
Onside.
And Took Heron has also left the field. Carl Lovell now playing on the wing for Parramatta.
Legs twisted in the tackle of Butterfield and Glanville. And the stretcher called for Jason Bell. So again, we'll take stock of all the injured troops in a moment. 51 gone. Parramatta up by 4. Well, the side sitting back watching all of this, not saying they're enjoying it, but it has to be Manly. There to play the winner of this match next week, and they'll be taking on a battered lineup, that is for sure. Davis and Gidley out of the match for Newcastle. Carriage out of the game for Parramatta. Now Jason Bell. And one must suggest that Jim Dimmick's right shoulder isn't that flash either. And through the course of the match, we've had Jason Smith concussed, Aaron Raper, Brett Clements, both to the blood bin.
And Manly Warringah players sitting back absolutely laughing.
Loser of this game to play North Sydney. That match will be next Saturday. New Zealand watching this one. I'm sure there's an army of Parramatta supporters there as well. At the moment, it is the Eels up by 4. And it was an 18-0 lead in the first quarter of the match. Plenty of calls for video replays and the video referee to be used by the ARL heading into the final series. They said no to that a good month out from the finals. I'm sure the call will be there again after the early try for Jason Bell in this match. And he's the man being taken from the field now. So Jason Bell, he'd certainly put his stamp on the game for Parramatta. He's been as dangerous as anyone for the Eels. And he appears to have played his last football. Here at the Sydney Football Stadium, Jason Bell leads the field for Parramatta. And they're getting low on numbers in bench players as Glanville is with it for Newcastle.
And it will always mean a reshuffle as well with the amount of players going off, and that I think we'll see Jim Dimmick go out to 5'8". McCracken is in the centres at the moment. Lovell, as Paul pointed out, is out on the wing, so how many players playing in the same position that they took the field at the beginning of the game?
Well, a rush kick there by Hughes. He was the second option. It's off the side of the boot. He gets away with it. Mark Hughes, and in fact has found touch 30 metres out from the Parramatta line. So a big effort from young Mark Hughes at fullback. Raper was putting in the chase. For a moment, it appeared as if it was headed out on the full.
He's had a great game today, Aaron Raper. Some of his defence has been fantastic, and the battle between he and Brett Clements has been an absolute beauty in the middle of the ruck.
Raper slated this scrum. Carl Lovell was definitely the definition of the utility player. He has played some prop this year. At the moment, he finds himself on the wing. As the Eels in possession, 35 metres out from their own line. Troy Campbell now. Men in the Glanville tackle. It's worth looking ahead to what we have on the wide world of sports, our Optus Cup coverage next Friday night. The clash of the Roosters, and can this fairy tale run from the Gold Coast Chargers continue? We'll find out next Friday. As Parramatta spread the ball here for Barnes, gets inside the Newcastle half. Grogan coming across, and Albert was forced in from his wing. Parramatta perhaps just edging back now. They've got Newcastle on their heels. Simon, last tackle. Dimmick gets a rush kick in. There shouldn't be any problems. There's communication at the back. Newcastle are with it. Dimmick, the man who kicked the football, is there to make the tackle. Billy Peden, but Newcastle at the moment struggling to get any real field position. Raper that time. And now Clements here for Richards. Running straight at Campbell. And they'll be forced into a kick from well inside their territory come the last tackle. Muir backing into a three-man tackle. Pettit is there. He's had plenty of game time today, Darren Pettit. Newcastle, the chief, Harrigan. Again, they go high on Paul Harrigan. He almost gets it to halfway. It was a risky tackle from Brett Horsnell. Now the kick. Russell Wire bounced back into his chest. It's play on for Parramatta. And then a race forearm as Craigie looked to come up with a front-on tackle. The Eels on their own 20. A high-scoring first half. We saw 6 tries scored. There have been none in the 15 minutes since the break. It is a real battle as Raper goes forward. Matthew Johns over the top, locking up the ball. Wooden was underneath. This is Dimmick. Simon, half a chance on the left. Campbell the long ball. Barnes has had plenty of work today. Now Navali on his own 40-metre line. Back with Justin Morgan. He was told to go straight by John Simon. Just a matter of 2 or 3 metres. Dean Pay. Another straight run into the tackle of Peden. Able to offload. Simon then on for Dimmick. He's got McCracken in support. He brushed away from one. That was Fletcher. Strong work from Jim Dimmick. Almost losing the ball in the tackle. He's on the Newcastle 40-metre line. Last play it is. Scooped up for Simon on the blind side. Kicking back to centre field. Mark Hughes has done well so far at fullback. This is a tough one. Coming down between the uprights. But the bounce favoured Newcastle and will come back to the 20.
Oh, it's a tough one, all right. Coming down right near the sticks. Dimmick leaves the field. He's had a pretty good game. It's a great kick. It's 40 metres. It's high. It's come down near the post. And lucky for Newcastle, it went over the dead ball line. Andrew Johns now loses the football.
Parramatta on the turnover. Andrew Johns, he was not looking to do anything with the football. He was trying to burrow low in the tackle and lost it. There's no fullback at home as Harrigan comes across with a crunching tackle on Morgan. 30 metres out from the Knights line. This is Dean Pay. Muir. They're putting some physical work in the tackles, but they're not putting them down. It's Pettit. He's that time met by Grogan. On the Knights 20. Raper keen to keep the play alive and kicks. What was that tackle? 3 or 4. Albert is with it for Newcastle.
Yeah, poor play there from Aaron Raper. At times he can come up with looking for the big play down that short side with the kick. This wasn't the time. Darren Albert was well positioned. They had a couple of opportunities on that short side there. They just got the wrong men in position. Pettit for one and Justin Morgan the other. Didn't come up with the ball. Strong tackle on Paul Harrigan.
On the sideline, we're back to the medical room. Steve Roach.
Yeah, Jason Bell left ankle, so he won't be back. And also, you missed it. Matthew Johns has come off with a bad head cut. They need to get him back out there.
Craigy's kick, so both the 5/8s off the field at the moment. Navali is with it for Parramatta. Stepping away from the Grogan tackle. No damage done. Richards was there on the inside. The Eels leading by 4. His first weekend of the Harvey Norman finals. And this is Campbell. Started this season so well. Troy Campbell, I think he was player of the Sevens. Back here at the Sydney Football Stadium in February. Now coughed up by McCracken. Harrigan, turnover, Clements. Wider there for Richards. Richards has Grogan, runs himself. Was tackled inside the Parramatta 40. Best chance for a while for the Newcastle Knights. Albert inside here for Butterfield. And straight to Johnny Simon getting through. Plenty of defence in the second half, John Simon. Also there was Campbell. Scooped up by Clements for Andrew Johns. He thought he sighted a gap. He's found it. Andrew Johns, 10 metres out. Steps straight for steps 4, steps 5. He's beaten them all. Andrew Johns, the solo try. That will probably turn the match, and he is injured.
He's down injured, but what a try. A great individual effort from Andrew Johns. He's writhing in agony. He'll be okay. He'll get up. It's come from a Parramatta mistake. A big hit on McCracken, who never had the football. And a couple of tackles later, Andrew Johns. And the big games bring out the best in the big players. And there's probably no better player in the game than this kid. He's beaten 3, 4, 5, and the fullback, and Raper. What a try.
A great try there. And he has beaten 5 players. He ducks straight under John Simon's tackle, beats Pay under Simon's tackle. A despairing dive from Justin Morgan. And Russell Wire fell for the big right foot side step, some sort of step. And the good thing for Newcastle is that Andrew Johns has scored in very close proximity to the posts. So it's not that difficult to put the team in front for the first time this afternoon.
I'm just wondering if he's well enough to take the kick, and actually Billy Peden has got the football. And he's lining up the kick. Bustling Billy gets a chance.
Well, there are lots of things on a footy field that I didn't know Bill Peden could do, and he does amaze me every week. He's quicker than I thought. He hits harder than I thought. I didn't know he could kick.
Well, the kick is 15 metres out and 15 in from touch. Matthew Johns looking on. Plenty of concern for his brother and for the cause of Newcastle at the moment at 20 all. Just thinking about that Andrew Johns try, it was similar. Opposite side of the ground, but the Wayne Bartram solo try in the finals last year. Similar run, beat 5 or 6 players. Here he comes, his moment of truth. Billy Peden, bustling Bill has missed. Maybe he can't kick. It's 20 all, there's 22 remaining. Back to halfway for Parramatta. The 18-0 lead is now negated. Here at the Sydney Football Stadium, 20 all. Someone has whispered extra time. Newcastle with Fletcher. 15 out from their own line. Newcastle Knights, Paul Harrigan. Key blow, though, by Andrew Johns that had very little ball at that end of the field. In their first visit for quite some time inside the 30, they scored, and now they've picked up a forward pass. I dare say from the sideline. So it turns again back Parramatta's way.
Just a delay in the pass. That pass is all right. It was passed backwards.
Look, Andrew Johns is still in plenty of trouble out there. If they're about to do some defending, I'm not sure I want him in the line. He is really struggling with that left arm. Now Russell Wire for the Eels. He's got Lovell on his outside. They hesitated with a tackle. Muir got across. Also there was Craigie. He comes for Dimmick. Dimmick, a stumble out of the line from Clements. He was then cleaned up, Jim Dimmick, in the tackle of Billy Peden. The bustling one. Simon, 10 metres out from the line. He jinks and is tackled. Simon's still going. They've released him in the tackle. He gets within 5 of the line. Raper at dummy half. It comes wide. Oh, put down by Smith. Parramatta. An error right in front of the Newcastle posts at 20 all. The pressure is showing.
And most importantly, it was the 3rd tackle. Jason Smith wasn't particularly happy with the pass from Aaron Raper, but he should have caught it.
We've got to brace ourselves. There's still plenty of time in the game. 19 and a half minutes remaining. But it's got a sort of last 5 minutes feel about it at the moment. Peter, well, he's now the 5'8". Matthew Johns at halfback. Coming here for Glanville. Andrew Johns being assisted from the field and in goal. There he is. Well, just what will be the toll out of this game for both teams? Newcastle on their own line. Their own 30, that is. Matthew Johns running like a back rower that time, just taking on the defence. Now Dean Pay's been left behind for Parramatta. This is Fletcher. Pay has signalled to the sideline. He's in all sorts of trouble. Well, this is terrible news for the Eels. Dean Pay is going to come straight from the field. It's either his wrist or his right thumb. Back for wire on his own goal line. This is quite incredible. Parramatta. Grogan makes the tackle. Dean Pay off the field for the Eels. And now Navali with it. Through the 20. With 20 points all. Oh, pass in front of Pettit. He had to lunge just at the last moment to gather that one in. It's Jason Bell, the ice pack around the ankle. I don't think we'll be seeing him again. In the meantime, Muir goes for the front-on shot on Campbell. He was looking for a quick play the ball. Raper. There for Dimmick. Gets that pass over the shoulder of Lovell. Chance for Newcastle. McDougall with it. 35 metres out from the Parramatta line. Will they strike again? Glanville with Craigie. Puts a little leap as he receives the football. Pettit is up in defence with Campbell. Now 25 metres out. Clements away for Matthew Johns. This is Fletcher. The young players are responding for Newcastle. Clements up for Matthew Johns, taking over where his brother left off for Brett Grogan. Left arm fend away from Barnes. Barnes is there again with Smith. Now on the Parramatta 10-metre line. Can they hit the front for the first time in the match? Bill Peden. Richards. Here is bustling Billy Peden. Oh, has he got there? He hasn't. He's short of the tie line. Russell Wire with a tackle. It's the last play, and Newcastle, a penalty. A penalty to the Knights.
Well, do they give the ball to Billy to kick, or are they going to take the tap? They've got to have a kick, surely.
I'd be going for the try, honestly. Andrew Johns is not out there. They're giving the ball to Owen Craigie. He'll have a kick. Parramatta just about out on their feet. As a matter of fact, both teams just about out on their feet. Billy Peden, he was going to score a try when he went straight through. He got ankle tapped and then pulled down by Russell Wire.
If he scores there, he hosts the footy show.
Please, that'd be great.
Oh, he gets better every week, Bill Peden. And now young Owen Craigie with a kick. Now this one is 15 in from touch, 15 out at 20 all.
Can he kick?
A bit.
He's got 12 more points in his career than Billy Peden has.
He was the goal kicker for Francis Xavier College at Hamilton. Here's his kick. Owen Craigie. It certainly is a step up in class from high school football to finals football in the Optus Cup. 22 to 20. The Knights, for the first time in the match, are in front. And that went straight over the black dot.
He can kick.
Never in doubt.
First goal he's ever kicked in first grade. A bad time to do it. 15 minutes to go in a semi-final. Score's locked up.
You just wonder whether he was game to put his hand up on the previous kick when they were looking for a goal kicker. He's never had a shot in first grade. He thought, well, maybe one of the more experienced players should have it.
What do you think, Pete? The Eels got anything left?
I don't think so, Paul. I think that Newcastle will finish over the top of them. I hope that I'm wrong, but you just get the feeling that Newcastle, I know this might sound a bit strange, but they do look a little bit healthier at the moment, despite the fact they've had two players carried off on stretchers.
Leo Davis out of the match for Newcastle. The Knights are just over their 20. Andrew Johns is ready to go back into this match. Adam Muir. Good strong run from Adam Muir, just what was required on tackle 4. And they will kick before the last with Matthew Johns, although the kick has Navali going back more height than he probably wanted, not enough distance. Barnes is now back at fullback. Parramatta 35 metres out from their own line. He missed the start. Parramatta led in the first quarter of this game by 18 points to 0. They've only added a goal after half-time from Ian Heron to that tally.
Well, if you just have a look at Parramatta now, you can throw a blanket over them. You find it very difficult to get any width. Nobody really...
Oh, Muir! Shoulder charge on Brett Horsnell. Horsnell is straight to his feet. Newer came from, I think, his blind spot. Pettit. Matthew Johns was there. His tackle count mounting. Matthew Johns. Now the kick on the last. There's half a chance here. Getting back is Clements. Smith has regathered. That's been knocked down by Newcastle. McLean wants it called back. I'd like to see that one again. He's called the knock on.
And he's called it against Parramatta. Against Jason Smith. Said he got his hand to the football. Shades of State of Origin, Melbourne, 1995. This, the little chip through. He's got to it. And he's saying that that ball was projected forward. And from that, it looks right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the ball was going forward and hit the Newcastle player. He gets in a position to pass the football. It goes forward and then backwards off Hughes.
And that was the end of it. Jason Smith then in trouble for Parramatta. Looks like he'll leave the field for the second time. Steve, what's the story on Dean Pay?
Yeah, it's an old injury. He's had a crook thumb for about 5 or 6 weeks now. They're just checking it again. He'll be all right. They're just strapping it up. They need Dean Pay out there for his experience.
Russell Wire was off for a short period. He's back out there now at fullback. Barnes redeployed in the centres. And Newcastle on their own 20-metre line. We continue the game in the balance. Glanville. Dean Pay, he is ready to come back. It was his call to come from the field. He knew there was a problem. 3 men in the tackle. Paul Harrigan. Problems for the Chief. Now Glanville. It's amazing we've been able to keep the full complement. 13 on 13. It's Matthew Johns, the head swathed in bandages as the kick got placed there by Andrew Johns. Back now with Wire inside his own 20. Grogan leads the chase and makes the tackle. 25 metres out from their own line. Just under 13 minutes remaining now and a 2-point lead to the Newcastle Knights. Manly await the winner of this match. Raper with Dimmick. Dimmick pushing along there for Lovell. Trying to get some speed up, but Butterfield was hanging on in the tackle. Raper is in a dummy half. Comes across for Morgan. Glanville makes light work of that tackle. Parramatta 5 inside their own half now. Raper for Dean Pay, his first touch since returning. There's Simon on the inside. Glanville read it well. He was coming across and made the tackle. Last it is for Parramatta. Raper needing a quality kick this time. He's kicked it back to the wing of Darren Albert. Well, Albert won't be trouble because it's out on the full.
Well, the problem for Parramatta there was John Simon was playing the football. Aaron Raper took on the responsibility. It's only just landed out of the field of play, but it was enough. And that's another big plus for the Newcastle team in this last 11 and a half minutes is the fact that they've got a very strong kicking game with Andrew Johns out there. They'll play good field position as Fletcher. Easy metres out of dummy half.
38 metres out from the Parramatta line. Paul Harrigan has recovered. Tony Butterfield gets inside the 30 for the Newcastle Knights. Leading by 2, converted try, shuts out the Eels in this one. Andrew Johns away for Matthew. He's got Craigie in support, links up with Hughes with the inside ball. Wrapped up in the Simon tackle. 25 metres out from the line. Now it's Wayne Richards. Richards running at Pettit. Pettit is there with Morgan. He's carried to within 10 metres of the Parramatta line. Raper was called in as a third man. Andrew Johns a dummy half. Matthew Johns creeping there just behind the play. The ball. The kick a ricochet. Will that be the try to Grogan? Navali is there as well. There's a hint that it's a try. Well, the in-goal judge, it'll be his call. Well, the in-goal judge can't see it. Can the touch judge see it?
The Parramatta one, but the Newcastle bloke got it down. I couldn't see the Parramatta one, mate.
The Newcastle try.
I think Grogan has scored this one. It is a try to the Knights. 6-point lead. Grogan has claimed the try for Newcastle.
Well, there's been a conference between the 3 wise men, and they've come up with a try. The in-goal judge, a ricochet there. Does Parramatta ground it? Well, did Newcastle ground it?
Nah, it's not a try. No way, no. And he's given it to Brett Grogan. The touch judge has said that he saw the Newcastle hand go down. No Parramatta hand. But Brett Grogan, absolutely no way he's got his hand to this. No way, no.
That's a tragedy, honestly.
Well, can you hear the cry for video referee?
Yeah, well, look, I know that there were 3 people making the decision on this. And somehow they had to come up with a better one.
We've been crying for it for about 3 months now. and they just won't do it. Here's a try being awarded that shouldn't be a try, that might cost Parramatta in the end a grand final spot.
And on that replay, looked as if Albert came into contact with the football before the line as well, then off Navali. You can take your pick on what discretion you want to prevent the try being scored. It is awarded to Brett Grogan. He got a fingertip to it at best.
And this will wrap it up. If Johns can pilot this between the sticks, an 8-point lead with 10 to go, it's just too much. There's not enough petrol left in the Parramatta tank.
Injuries and in-goal judges under fire, or the big talking point out of this match. Johns' kick from 11 metres in from touch. They lead by 6. Still over 10 minutes remaining. Into the late afternoon sun. The kick from Andrew Johns never looked like missing. Cool as you like from the number 7 for the Knights. They now lead by 8. They trail by 18. Well, Steve Roach, we've had a few of these today, but almost impossible to come up with a decision of a try at this one.
Yeah, I don't even know how he came up with it. I think Grogan just jumped up and jumped for joy like he scored the try, and he really fooled the touch judge, I thought.
Well, that was the ruling we heard from the touch judge, that he saw a Newcastle hand put on a ball, no Parramatta hand, and that was basically what Paul McLean had to go with.
So Newcastle, after Parramatta went for the short kick-off, Hay then went for a shoulder charge that missed. It was on Mark Hughes. Now Muir. Muir gets it inside the Parramatta 40.
Well, I suppose we could sit here and blame all three people who gave that try, but I'm sure they're looking for a bit of help too. I mean, they need the video replay to help them.
McLean did all he could. There's Andrew Johns, threads this kick through. Craigie on the chase, it bounces up. Craigie has knocked it forward. No try this time, no way. 28-20 to the Newcastle Knights.
That was just setting up nicely for Owen Craigie, just to grab it and fall down over the line, but he attempted to flick it back. A nice little kick here from Andrew Johns. It's just about over the line now. He's just got to grab it, but he knocked it forward.
Parramatta are with it. Headed tackle. Clock says 9 minutes remaining now. And Justin Morgan.
What about this kid, Justin Morgan? He's been play again, leaves the field. Justin Morgan has had as good a game as I've seen him play this year, and he's had a marvellous season. 27 tackles, 13 hit-ups. There he is offloading the ball to Brett Horsnell. They keep it alive to Aaron Raper, trying to get the ball to Navali, who was in open space.
Tackled by Glanville. Now they attack that blind side. But an 8-point margin, 8.5 minutes remaining, and last tackle. They haven't had many results off their last tackle plays in this half. That kick from Simon, a little deep, and Hughes comes up with it. Almost got him right in the face, but in the end, a good take. 10 metres out from his own line. Well, if Parramatta is to lose this match and trailing by 8, it does appear that way. We look forward to next Saturday, when the Eels would take on the North Sydney Bears. Our coverage from 4 o'clock. And Sunday, the major qualifying final, will see the minor premiers Manly take on the Newcastle Knights. Our coverage from 5 next Sunday. Newcastle back with Clements. Gets over the 40-metre line. You
can see why Brett Clements has been able to push Lee Jackson out of the starting lineup. As Matthew Johns slips out of dummy half, makes it to the halfway line. Clements this afternoon, he's made some valuable metres. He's been tough in defence, and his service from dummy half has been excellent.
A kick from Andrew Johns. Navali turned around again. And Russell Wire is with it, 5 out from his own line. Grogan's been very good on the chase in this second half. He's been the first man there every time following a Newcastle kick. And now Navali for the Eels. Clements makes the tackle. Raper away with Campbell. Muir is there. Just explaining what the loss means in the overall picture for Parramatta. Another loss in their out of this year's finals campaign. Newcastle now get a second bite, even if they lose next weekend against the Manly side. Simon's kick. That was from inside the 40. Can't find the line. Hughes is there. Talking about blokes who have done well in the second half. This is one. Mark Hughes, unsigned for next year, gets it to the 40-metre line. There's Glanville. On for Andrew Johns. Albert has brought himself in from the opposite wing. Just lurking behind Andrew Johns on that angled run. Grogan from dummy half. One of the markers went off and had fallen for the dummy. That was Navali. Newcastle just slowing it up now. 40 metres out from the Parramatta line. Just over 6 minutes remaining. Eden away from Pettit, wrapped up by Morgan. Morgan's tackle count now up to 30. In Newcastle, that kick from Andrew Johns bouncing into touch over the head of Epirama Navali. And Knights just controlling this game via Andrew and Matthew Johns.
A very smart play there, and the Johns boys are still only very young, probably in their early 20s, but they've got old heads on them. Always have had, really, since they come into first grade a few seasons ago. And with the wealth of experience they've got at state of origin and international level, they've only got better.
So the stats there for Andrew Johns, just 23 years of age. Knights hoping they can secure both for 1998 and beyond. Matter in possession, inside their 20, Dimmick. Now Wire running straight out of dummy half for a 10-metre gain. Fletcher was there in defence. With it is Campbell. He shuffles that pass along for Lovell. Lovell in a wrestling match with Craigie. Craigie does well. Strong performance by the young centre. Herring, centrefield with Raper. Then for John Simon. He had Dimmick on his outside. Now pushes the pass. It's been knocked down by Newcastle. Tackle count has restarted. Dimmick suspects there's a chance. Why? Parramatta straightening up with Morgan. Then back for Dimmick. Fletcher is up in defence. A good tackle on Jim Dimmick. 45 metres out from the Knights line. Raper a dummy half. They swing to the blind side. Pettit is the man carrying forward. But no challenge there for Andrew Johns in the tackle. Again with Morgan. Can he pop a pass? He has again. Justin Morgan. Fletcher, good tackle. Hopping on the back of Campbell. 35 out from this Newcastle try line. Dimmick pushes across field again. It's Lovell on the end of his pass. Muir's there when that tackle on Lovell, along with Matthew Johns. Now 25 metres out. McCracken, Simon, Justin Morgan now down for the Eels as Pettit is 20 metres out. Gets the pass, it's been put down. Oh, another chance that went begging for Russell Wire this time.
Just had to catch it. You'd think he would have scored a try right near the sticks. It's a good ball from Pettit. A little bit low, but should have been caught.
You see Justin Morgan down receiving attention. This is what he's been able to do. Get out wide and set some players up. It was a low pass, and Darren Albert did have him covered, but they'd have still had possession and still had a tackle up their sleeve.
Morgan off the field. Tireless performance. 30 tackles, 14 hit-ups for Justin Morgan. Aaron Raper with 34 tackles today for Parramatta as well.
And Justin Morgan, I've got to say, I agree with you, Pete. He's been the standout player for Parramatta. At times it's looked as though he's played them on his own. But he's a great young player heading places in this game of rugby league.
Well, he seems to be the player that when they need a charge or they need somebody to get in, he's there.
Harrigan able to get another offload away.
And the one thing that has come out of this game, Paul, is we look at next week when they take on Manly. To win a premiership, you've got to have a good pack of forwards. I've just had a look through this Newcastle pack. Butterfield and Harrigan, as good as any two front rowers going around. Brett Clements has been both close to the best player on the field. And I think Clevedon, Muir and Glanville have been absolutely outstanding. So the formula's there for them.
They're very handy first set of forwards. Then you look at their replacements. Wayne Richards, been around for a while, good player. Troy Fletcher, he's come onto the scene this season. Lee Jackson is a backup hooker. So they are looking pretty good this year, Newcastle. And of course, the big match next Sunday, Manly and Newcastle it'll be.
And of course, we're talking about a side that has come back from an 18-0 deficit in this one. The Newcastle Knights, no fear. 2.5 remaining. Close-up of Paul Harrigan packing into the scrum. The guile of Andrew Johns on show again. He's kicked for the line, just soaking up the time. Simon. With Wire, Matthew Johns. Got on in the tackle. Matthew Johns' tackle count today is 21. Chasing in the top three. Parramatta a chance left. Grogan comes up with a tackle, along with Albert. Early infield, Horsnell. There is Dimmick. Dimmick to the 40-metre line. Butterfield around the legs Oh, terrible play the ball. Well, McLean has ruled in favour of Parramatta here, saying the ball was reefed away. Parramatta after the quick resumption and the deep kick. Now 38 metres out from the Newcastle line. Raper here for Pettit. Pettit gets inside the 30-metre line. The most serious of casualties today for Newcastle, Gidley and O'Davis. For Parramatta, Jason Bell. And possibly Paul Carriage, who we haven't seen since the first half. Parramatta 30 metres out from the Newcastle line. Jared McCracken is with it, kicking. Turned around is McDougall. Back to his own goal line, almost losing the football. Then gets the pass to Hughes. Oh, the youth, the confidence.
Well, did he mean to throw it? Did it pop out? That's the question. Good play there from Newcastle. It's been their day. Parramatta lost this game in the last 15 minutes of the first half after they led 18-0. They're good on you. Good to see him take a chance. In these games, you shouldn't lose any game of football from 18-0 up.
Well, there's Matthew Johns with that pass to himself. Number 35 metres out. And Richards up for Butterfield. Well handled in the Dimmick tackle. This is the last on their own 40, but inside the final 30 seconds of this one. Back with Andrew Johns steadying for the kick. Then back from Matthew. Almost ran into Mark Hughes. Gets his kick in Matthew Johns eventually. And Wire from inside his 30. Russell Wire. And bustling Billy Peden. The ball has been knocked down by Craigie. I thought it was thrown forward. It's play on though for Parramatta. Lovell is with it. He reefs it downfield. Mark Hughes will be required for the last time in the match. He's got every right to kick it into the SCG. He's with it, Mark Hughes, awaiting the last tackle. There it is. And Newcastle are through to a battle with Manly. Next weekend, many believe it's a preview of the grand final. Full time here. Newcastle 28, Parramatta 20.